Welcome back. Were you able to solve this? Let's give it a go. If I wanted to create a generic multiply by function, I'm going to do a function that accepts number 1, a number. And inside of this function, it's going to return another function that is going to have number 2 as a parameter. And that's simply going to return num1 times num2. And with this in place, I can do multiply by 2. And I can assign this to another variable. Let's say multiply by 2 to equal multiply by 2. And now I have this functionality and this function that I can keep reusing, where I can multiply by 2, 4. I can multiply by 2, let's say 10. And I have that functionality over and over with this higher order function. What is the higher order function here? Well, the multiply by is a higher order function because it returns another function. And I can also extend this, right? I can create something new where I can do multiply by, let's say, 5. And if I do multiply by 5 here, I can now extend multiply by 5. Let's say multiply 6 by 5. We get 30. Awesome. Now, we can also write this in a cleaner way with arrow functions. And it looks something like this. Arrow function followed by another arrow function. And we can even one-line this. So we go like this to just a single line of code, like that. And if I run this, it still works. And I like using arrow functions because visually it makes sense, right? All it's saying is give me a parameter, then another parameter. So if I just do multiply by number 1, which should be 4, and then add another bracket, multiply by 6, 6 times 4 will be 24. And that's all these brackets are showing you. Don't get confused by all these arrows. It's a higher order function, but each bracket shows you how to call the function so that we can do something like this. Now, higher order functions. I hope you start to see the power of them because we're going to be using them a lot throughout the rest of the course. Now, we learned how to go from a simple function to function with parameters, and then finally we went Super Saiyan to higher order functions. And the main benefit was the idea of making code more general, keeping our code dry and not repeating ourselves, and just breaking things down into small functionalities. Now, some people might argue that higher order functions doesn't necessarily simplify our code. It makes it look more complex and complicated. And that's a subject up for debate. But with this newfound knowledge, I think we're ready to get into our first pillars, closures. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.